All right, week 13. Good morning, everybody. Jim Coventry from Rotowire here talking some fantasy and NFL football. Len, I already see you got a question. You get that early bird gets the worm here. Flex spot, half PPR, Stevenson or Parker. My concern for Devonte Parker is that the Giants are going to put James Bradbury on him. I think they feel he's the alpha, although Jalen Waddle's been playing very well. Parker has been out since week 4, but I think he draws that physical matchup. And Tua is unlikely to throw the ball in a tighter window if that's the case, where Stevenson's going to get his 8 to 12 carries in a game. But the thing is, I don't know how many targets he gets in this one. So what we're ultimately looking at is Parker is going to play a full snap share, and he's going to have a tough situation. Stevenson's going to see moderate amounts of carries, but it could add up. Damian Harris is a little more likely to see the goal line. So that's something I'm concerned about as well. I think ultimately you got to look at it this way. Parker has a little better of a floor because should I even say that? Yeah, Parker has a little better of a floor because as a full-time player, he should see 4 or 5 targets. He should see that. I think Stevenson has the ceiling here because if he gets in the end zone, if he breaks a long run, if he gets a reception, I think his upside is there. But neither of them have great upside here. I think we're talking a maximum of 15 points. I think Parker's more likely to get you 7 PPR points, whereas Stevens is more likely to get you 4 or 5. Buffalo has been really good against the run. I do think New England could take advantage of them. So overall, for safety, I'd go Parker, and then LeBron with a little swing for defense upside with some downside to be Stevenson. Let's see, you got an Insta question here. Welcome, everybody. And you guys won't see this on Twitter and YouTube. Real Mickey, let's see, Foster Moreau or Kyle Pitts. Yeah, it's a tough call. Moreau doesn't have a great matchup. Washington's top 12 against tight ends. So it's not an easy – and then Washington's very vulnerable to wide receivers. And so I think that the Raiders are going to have an advantage going there. Now, Kyle Pitts hasn't played well. We understand teams are taking him away. Matt Ryan's been horrible. But there's a good chance the Bucs get such a big lead, they start pulling players in the second half. And I think Pitts could do some damage late. And I think with the shootout, they're going to have to throw. They're going to abandon the run fairly early. So I do think Moreau's matchup is not good. And that tells me I'm going to go with the more talented player in Pitts. And all right, let's get another question here. Kevon, Mooney or Brandon Cooks? Yeah, that's a good one as well. I do think Mooney can get by on the Arizona corners. I do think so. They're good. They're playing well. The pass rush gets there. Andy Dalton, though, he's not great. He's bad. I get it. But he can get the ball to his alpha. And right now, Mooney is that. Cooks I like too, though, because Cooks wide receiver ones against Indianapolis have been thriving. And so Brandon Cooks can get open on any type of route. He's become a more diverse route runner as his career has gone. He's not just that deep threat anymore. And I also think in this game, like I mentioned for a previous question, I think there's a good chance Indy gets out to a big lead. And I think that they relax in the second half. And I think Brandon Cooks in the second half of the third quarter and through the fourth quarter, I think he could pile up some points here. Mooney is way, way, way safer, though, because they're going to throw some. They're going to have to throw some. They're going to struggle to run against Arizona. Mooney is safer. And I don't know that Cooks has more upside. So I'm going to say Mooney 65% to 35%. Love both players. Got another Insta question here. Vince, full PPR, Van Jefferson or Tyreek. You're not crazy to think this because Vic Fangio is going to play the too high shell that has caused the biggest problems. He's the original creator of that and of the form that we're seeing now. All right, the form we're seeing now. That he's the creator of that recent form. He has held the Chiefs down in the last number of games they played. Hill's not getting big plays. Yes, he could get lucky and break a big play. I get it. But typically, the rules they're setting on that defense are not going to let him get deep. Van Jefferson. I'm thinking Justin Jefferson. So that's that question. Van Jefferson, it's all right. Jacksonville's a pass funnel. But Tyreek, although he's not going to get the big play, he's going to get 12 targets. And at the end of the day, Van Jefferson's going to get 4 or 5 targets. Can Jefferson break a long one? Yes. You can't count on that every week. So you got to go Tyreek Hill. You're getting 12 targets, and that, if he catches 7 of them for 70 yards, that's a bankable game. And he can get in the end zone. If they get in the red zone, he can always get open in the red zone. He's been really good down in that area of the field. All right. Johnny Football, Brandon Cooks, DeAndre Hopkins, Chase Claypool need one. Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about Hopkins. They're saying how the hamstring is not 100% yet, that I don't think he's even been fully practicing all the way through. And so I'm a little nervous about that. And they're on the road, and Hopkins hasn't had a 90-yard game this season. He scored a touchdown, so that's been great. Claypool, not excited about his matchup with the Ravens. Real iffy with Ben. He gets an occasional good game where something, play breaks down and he's able to take advantage of it. But I think Marlon Humphrey's going to spend a lot of time on him. I don't think they're going to wait. They're going to put him on Deontay Johnson. Johnson's not a threat to make a big play. I would think we see Claypool locked up with, like I just said, Marlon Humphrey. I think Brandon Cooks. I'll explain earlier, Indy's bad against number one receivers, and I think that they'll have a big lead in the late third and fourth quarter. I think Cooks will clean up in garbage time. So I like Cooks there. Hopkins is reasonable. The most upside of the three is Hopkins because he's DeAndre Hopkins, and we know the talent he has, but he's less than 100%. So to me, Cooks is a bankable floor here. Indy zone's going to let him run underneath and get some stuff there, and he's going to pile up. He's a diverse player more than he was in the past when he used to be a deep threat. So I like that one there. I got another Insta question. Van Jefferson or Jerry Judy? Yeah, that's a tough one. So Chiefs have been playing a lot better on defense, especially pass defense lately. They are missing one of their top corners in this game, but that really affects Cortland Sutton more than Jerry Judy. I think it's a lower scoring game. I think that the Broncos are going to try to run. I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis. Slow the game, shorten the game. Don't make their defense do too much. Van Jefferson going to see 4 or 5 targets, but they're playing Tampa. I mean, not Tampa. They're playing Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's terrible against the pass. But I do, at the end of the day, Kupp and OBJ are going to see the target share. So in terms of it all, Jefferson has the ceiling. Jefferson can get the long touchdown. But if you want a safe 8 PPR points, which Jefferson is not going to be safe for that, Judy's your safe play. Judy gets the 8 to 10, bankable. Van Jefferson could be a 3. He could be a 15. So if you're an underdog in your game and you need a big game, Jefferson's got that capability. But otherwise, it's got to be Jerry Judy here. All right, back to Instagram and Twitter. Rex Burkhead or Tevin Coleman? Burkhead. Burkhead's got a horrible matchup, but David Johnson's not supposed to play. Check the inactives. They come up in about 25 minutes. Johnson's not expected to play. That means Burkhead's going to see targets. He's going to see rushing carries. Volume. They're both bad. Tevin Coleman's bad. Kevin Coleman's terrible. I know he had a few yards of carry. He almost got 4 carry. That was rare last week. He's not a good player. Tevin Coleman's horrible. Philly's nasty. Philly's playing very, very well this year. Philly against the run, they're middle of the pack at 16th, but they're going to overwhelm the Jets line. So to me, it's Rex Burkhead by a good margin. It's a good question. I got another Insta question here, which you guys won't see on the other platforms. AP or TY? I'm assuming you mean Adrian Peterson. T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton, you know what? He's got a great matchup. Houston is terrible against wide receiver 2s. They do great against 1s. I think they're top 10 against wide receiver 1s. And so, it's weird. Yeah, they're 5th against wide receiver 1s, but they're 28th against wide receiver 2s, which T.Y. Hilton is this day. And I think with the running game, they're going to have open deep shots. So I think T.Y. Hilton has a good game for you. AP, I don't expect anything. He stinks. He was running 3 yards of carry behind a team that's a top 10 run blocking line, but now he goes over to Seattle. That's a bottom 10 run blocking line, and the writing's on the wall. We look at in San Francisco's aces against the run. So Peterson can get 8 carries for 6 yards. So, yeah, T.Y. Hilton by a pretty good margin here. You're welcome, Vince. All right, see what else we got here. Back to Instagram, Twitter. Tyler Lowe, Elijah Moore, Devonte Parker, Jerry Judy, or OBJ. OBJ is expected to play. And I hate to use more subjective. I try to be very objective. But I have to believe that Sean McVay comes into this game. Got to get that passing game on track. They scuffled. And Jacksonville's a pass funnel. They stuff the run. They're very good against the run. This is a team you have to come out and pass the ball against. And so to me, and OBJ saw over 24% target share last week. So I think they're going to get him involved. Devonte Parker, I think, sees a lot of James Bradbury. No bueno there. Elijah Moore has to deal with Zach Wilson as his quarterback. We saw 4 for 48 and 8 targets last week. Not what we're hoping. Other quarterbacks are getting a lot more production out of Moore. And Jerry Judy, again, I think Denver runs the ball all day, shortens the game, lower scoring game. So I think OBJ is your guy. I think he has a floor and a ceiling here where the other guys kind of don't have as much of both. Jerry Judy has a similar floor to OBJ, but I think it's similar. But the upside that OBJ has, I think that gives you the leg up there. Let's see. We got another Insta question here. Got another Insta question. You guys won't see it on the other platforms. Hurts or Stafford? As far as I know, Hurts isn't playing. One of the Philly reporters apparently said, who works for the team, said he's not playing. Adam Schefter came back and said they're going to test him out pregame. But, again, he wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play. Based on that information alone, it's got to be Matt Stafford. And if Hurts is to the point where they're if he's going to play, that means he's not running. If his ankle is bad, then he's not running. And if it's Hurts as a passer, I don't want any part of that. Hurts as a runner all day long, but I don't think we're going to have him as a runner because of the ankle. All right, one more on Insta. Better defense. 49ers or the Steelers. Man, the Steelers suck. I don't even get it. They get a pressure rate and they can't do anything else. They're getting throttled by teams. 49ers, because Russell Wilson's terrible right now, and the line in Seattle's terrible, and San Francisco can make enough happen. So I'm going to go that route. Iron Eddie, back to Twitter and YouTube. TD League, 100-yard bonus. You need 2. Monty, meaning David Montgomery, I hope. Javonte Williams and Sony Michel. And you can't sit. You know what? The Sony Michel thing is that Jacksonville is a pass funnel. They've been very good against the run, especially the last 5 weeks. It's hard to run on them. So what I'm going to say is you got to sit him. Montgomery doesn't have a good matchup. I mean, I get it. Arizona's very good against the run. Bears are at home. He'll get touches. He plays 85% snap share, and I gotta bank on that. And then Javonte's a great play this week because Kansas City can't stop the run, and obviously we know that Melly Gordon's not going to be playing there. So yeah, I think you got to sit Michelle there, and it's the night game, and you're not sure. I mean, Henderson can play. Don't know if he will, but he could. And then at that point, you're stuck. So yeah, I don't think that we're going to go that route. No, Iron Eddie. Half PPR. Pittman, OBJ, Elijah Moore. You know, I mentioned earlier, if you've been with me a few minutes, you may not have been, but Houston's like top 5 against wide receiver ones. I don't like this matchup for Pittman. They do very well on wide receiver ones. OBJ, love his matchup. Like I said, Jacksonville's a pass funnel. You want to attack them through the air. They stop the run, and this is a get-right game for that Rams offense. OBJ had over 24% target share last week. He played all but a snap or 2. Elijah Moore, he's got Zach Wilson now. It sucks. He was great when he was playing with the backup quarterbacks. Now he's got the starter in. 4 for 48 on 8 targets, not so good. So I'm going to have to say OBJ there. That'd be my recommendation. And then I'm going to get back to Insta in a minute, guys. Guy, you've got Higgins, Miles Sanders, Mike Williams. Need 2. Miles Sanders, for me, is an auto start. 2 weeks ago, he had 16 carries, over 6 to Boston Scott. Last week, people saw the box scores and thought, what's up with Miles Sanders? Well, he was like 9 for 64, but he rolled an ankle. It wasn't bad, but he kept him out of the game. And therefore, Boston Scott went off. Miles Sanders was taken off the injury report, and he's playing the Jets' bottom barrel run defense. So you got to go with him there. And that offensive line is fantastic for the Eagles. Mike Williams is always problematic because the coaches stopped throwing downfield. He got that 1 touchdown late in the game when they were in desperation mode, but they just don't use his skill set. They used the first 4 weeks. He was going crazy, beautiful fantasy production. We haven't seen it since. T. Higgins gets the targets every week. It's not a great matchup for T. Higgins, but the Chargers are really good against, wide receiver 2s, which he is because Chase is the one. But T. Higgins gets a lot of targets from a great quarterback, whereas Mike Williams just doesn't get the looks. And I think that since he can, I was talking with a couple of my friends, Scott Coben, Josh, this guy on, before the show, and I agree with them. There's an advantage for the Cincinnati pass rush, which is built in. It kind of was there to start. So the downfield game may not be there. So I'm going to go Higgins and Miles Sanders. All right, I'm going to pop back to Insta here for a minute so you guys won't see these questions, but I'll call them out here. We've got Jason, Jacoby Myers, or Josh Reynolds. So Jacoby Myers, and look, it was never like Tre'Davious White was going to be on Jacoby Myers, and that was going to be the end of the day. He probably more likely on Aguilar, but they're down in the secondary. Now, I know there's going to be a wind factor there. They're looking at 19-mile-an-hour winds, but Jacoby Myers runs the short area of the field. So I think Jacoby Myers is a good floor play. He's probably going to get you 4 catches for 45 yards. That's probably what you're looking at. That's a good floor. Now, Josh Reynolds, he's only going to probably see 5 targets in this game. He could break a long one, but if he doesn't have much going. So here's your deal. Myers is you want your 8 to 10 points? Put Myers in. You're good. But if you're an underdog and you're willing to risk a 3 for a 17-18, well, Reynolds may be your guy. But Myers is the much safer play this week. And then one more info. Oh, yeah, you're welcome, Mr. Lamack. Brady versus the Atlanta defense. So what I want to talk about this to everybody. So last week, the Bucs had 5 touchdowns, all scored by running backs. Now, one was a passing touchdown to Fournette, so Brady threw a touchdown pass. Well, Tampa's normally very, very heavy pass in the red zone. And I do think this week they're going to get that going again. Maybe a trend, maybe they're going to start running there, but I don't think so. I think they have such advantages on the outside with Evans for sure. And then if Godwin ends up sometimes as an outside receiver, even if he's in the slot, they got no where he plays a lot. They got no answer for that. And then Gronk. So I do think they're going to pass heavy in the red zone here. So I think Brady does finally have that big game we've been waiting for a couple of weeks. Randy, good to see you, man. 2 in non-PPR, Nuke, OBJ, Desean Jackson, or Golladay. Well, Galladay's gonna be catching passes or not catching passes from Mike Glennon, so I'm gonna rule that one down a bit. And Miami has those good outside corners, Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, and so that just is another factor working against him. Hopkins worries me because we know the hamstring's not right. They're taking him down to game time, and they're way more confident on Kyler than they are on OBJ. I mean, I'm Kyler than on DeAndre Hopkins, excuse me. OBJ is in for me. 24% target share last week, 97% of the routes. The hip, they're not worried. He's playing tonight. It's going to be a game against Jacksonville who stuffs the run, but they can't stop the pass. This is big game written all over it, and he has a floor too, so I love him there. The other one is going to be between Hopkins and Desean Jackson. So really what you're looking at here is, look, obviously we're checking the inactives, which are coming out in 15 minutes. If Hopkins is in, he's your floor play. He's going to get you 8 points. He's going to get you 10, 12 points. He's going to get you that. Desean Jackson, though, we saw again last week, you can't cover him. He's too fast. And against Washington secondary, and they're struggling with downfield passing, this could be a big Desean Jackson game. Now we know make it 2 targets to be done. So that's why Hopkins is your safe play, and I probably recommend him. I don't really want to sit DeAndre Hopkins. I want that safe play. But if you're really feeling, crazy and you want that upside play, it's Desean. But yeah, it's got to be OBJ and Hopkins here. As long as Hopkins is active, he's going to get some. And he could even get the big play. I mean, even when he hurt the hamstring, he was playing partially with that. He had 2 for 66. So yeah, just go Hopkins and OBJ and kind of call it a day. I love Desean, but I think if you had lesser options, that's the way we're going here. Adrian Peterson or Matt Breida, Johnny, this is easy for me. Adrian Peterson's done. He had 3 yards of carry behind a top 10 run blocking line, and now he goes to a bottom 10 run blocking line, and good luck. And San Francisco's a top 5 run defense. I think they're up to top 2 now, actually. They're top 2 now in rush DVOA. So Peterson has nothing. He might get you 10. He can get you 10 carries for 8 yards. I could see that. Totally could see that. Breida, to me, he could be, I'm not going to say a league winner, okay? But he's a guy that was on the waiver wire that could be a running back 2 the rest of the way, because all Buffalo's been wanting is a running back to take what the defenses are giving them. And therefore, this is what they have now. They finally have a guy that is fast. He can get to the second level. That's all they want. Matt Breida's that guy. So right now, he's Matt Breida all day long. Matt Breida over a lot of guys, but not Adrian Peterson. See if I have any instant question. Minshew is the MVP. Hey, I could see it. But remember, Philly is now a run-heavy team. The Jets are bottom 3 against the run. They're going to impose their will on the ground. They may throw some, and there could be some downfield play action, and Minshew could get a couple of TDs. But I could make a case for starting Minshew, depending what your options are. Another Insta questions. You guys won't see this on YouTube and Twitter. Devonte Parker or Josh Reynolds. I had a good similar question earlier. This is for Anthony Mraz. Here you go. Devonte has the floor. He has a tough matchup with James Bradbury. I expect Bradbury to be on him. I know Jalen Waddle's involved, but I imagine the big physical receivers where Bradbury's going to go. And then Tua doesn't like to throw to tight window throws. So, but Parker's still going to get you 4 or 5 catches, I would think, 40, 50 yards. So he's a good bankable floor, solid game, nothing crazy. But Josh Reynolds is that guy. You can get 5 targets. He can get a 70-yard touchdown, though. So Reynolds has the upside here, but he has a much, much lower floor than Devonte. So I think that, you want the safe play, go Devonte. If you got to swing for the fence and you can risk the low score, then it might be Reynolds. And I'll take one more from Insta, then I'll get back to YouTube and Twitter, everyone. DK or Sony Michel. Oh, wow. We've come to this, right? Yeah, we have. So basically, Jacksonville's a pass funnel. They're great against the run lately. They're really stuffing it out. So I don't know how much room Michel has to get going here. The coaching staff talked about wanting to get DK back involved. They found they recognize their negligence. Don't know what that means. I don't know if Russell's good anymore. I hate to say it. I love Russell Wilson. But I got to say DK. I got to say the coaches made it a point to mention they want to get him the ball. And if that's the case, then I got to go with him over Sony. And Sony is a bad matchup. The DK matchup, 49ers are much better against the run than they are the pass, so they can be had there. Laura and Jim Cooperman. In a PPR, you need 2. Kendrick Bourne, Cortland Sutton, Laviska Shenault, or Zach Pascal. So that's a tough one, right? That's a tough one. Kendrick Bourne, this may not be the game where they're going to have to throw a lot because I think the Patriots are really going to make it a point to run and try to shorten this game. But I think ultimately they have to score some points. And, the corners are all rung down now that Tre'Davious White's gone. So they're going to be scrambling a bit there. Bourne has downside, but he can always find the end zone. Cortland Sutton's been horrible, hence he's in this question. And now they're facing the Chiefs, who have been much, much better against the run. However, the one thing that works out for them is Fenton, the corner for the Chiefs. He's been playing at a very high level. Richard Fenton, he's out, and he plays a left corner spot. And there'll be plenty of times when Sutton's lined up over on that side. So I think because of that player being out, I think we're going to give Sutton a chance here. Shenault is getting some volume, but he's not doing anything productive. Pascal's just been out of the picture, basically, and they're going to run heavy today on Houston. T.Y. Hilton might get some. I don't think Pascal's getting much. So basically, Sutton, because of the injury to Fenton, I think we got to say Sutton's in there. And then of your other two, Shenault is your more likely to get 7 PPR points. He's about 7 PPR points, and he's about right there, so it's a floor. Bourne has a much lower floor in this game, but Bourne could come out with a long play and a touchdown, so we can have a little more upside. So Sutton for sure. If you want the safe play, it's Shenault, and if you want the upside, it's Bourne. I'm going to leave Pascal out of this one. And Tom, you're welcome. And Randy, Damian Harris or Jamar Chase. So I have Jamar Chase going off this week. Basically, Jamar Chase is up against an LA Chargers defense. We look at the numbers. We go, they're great passing defense. They are. But they're bottom 10 against wide receiver ones, and that's Jamar Chase. So I think Jamar Chase is in. Not going to get a 203 touchdown game or whatever it is he had a few weeks back. But I do think he's a great candidate for over 100 yards of a score this week. I do love him this week. Damian Harris splits carries with Ramondre Stevenson, and so if he finds the end zone, he's fine. But if he doesn't find the end zone, he's kind of stuck. So I'm going to say Jamar Chase. Love Jamar Chase this week. And I've been off on him a number of weeks. But this week I'm with him. See if there's any more Insta questions. We're caught up on Insta right now. So good there. Randy, you have Jalen Hurts and Russell Wilson. I'm sorry. At least today I am. Would I stick with Wilson or drop for Carr? I know. I deal with this. I have Wilson in a couple of leagues, and I've thought about dropping him. And it's like, do I give him one more game? Do I see what he can do? And Derek Carr is a good matchup, but Derek Carr has been very inconsistent. Today's matchup is great. Wilson, Hurts should be back. Next week. He seemed close this week. So if Hurts is back, you're going to use him down the stretch. I'm not sure if Philly had their bye. If Philly hasn't had a bye yet, that'll be interesting. I don't know if I can't remember in my mind if they have a week 14, but somebody has a week 14 bye. Anyway, long term, I got to think Wilson has an injury, and he was solved in the second half of last season. The too high shells solved him, and they solved him when he's come back. And I probably would drop Wilson for Carr. I probably would. I don't think Wilson's turning it around this year. He may have a game here and there, but we won't know when it's coming. It'll come out of nowhere. And it's not like when they trail, he has this great acumen. Last week he had an easy defense, got a junk time touchdown, and barely had a decent fantasy day. I'd probably go with Carr. Ouch. That's hard to say. Got an Insta question. Mike Welch, good morning. Chris Godwin. You know what? All the matchups are beautiful for the passing game against Atlanta this week. So, and I do really think that Tampa's going to re-establish their passing attack. I think that's important to them this week. And so I do think they get that going. So I do like him as a high-end play. All right, let's see what else we got here. Lauren, Jim Cooperman, Foster Moreau, or Rex Burkhead at a flex. That's a good question. They all are good questions, really. So Burkhead's, we'll see the inactives in about 10 minutes, but David Johnson's not expected to play today. And if he doesn't, then Burkhead's going to probably see 15, 17 touches, and that's really good. Now, they're not going to be high-quality touches. They're playing Indy, who's smashing against the run. Against receiving running backs, though, Indy's bottom 6, and Burkhead's an excellent receiver. So I think Burkhead has some sneaky value here, both a good floor and maybe a little upside. Foster Moreau is a very, very good player, but he has a tougher matchup. Washington's top 12 against tight ends, and they're bad against wide receivers. I think this is a game where Derek Carr can get the ball to receivers. I don't think there's no organizational need to force feed Foster Moreau as they did for Darren Waller, because Darren Waller is a unicorn. So I think it's Rex Burkhead for me here, because if David Johnson's out, if David Johnson is active, then I may lean toward Moreau. So check that. Make sure you check in about 7 minutes, see what the inactives are. But I'm going to say Rex Burkhead here. And all right, John, Which two receivers do I like? Non-PPR. Diggs, McLaurin, Mooney, Mike Williams, Patriots shutting down Diggs. I'm glad you bring that up, John. Stephon Diggs is such a phenomenal route runner that you can't really take him out of game. You can't take his floor out. You can take his ceiling out. But he's not that downfield guy all the time. He occasionally does. But so Stephon Diggs is that guy. He's going to get his. And he's getting the targets. And that's the beautiful thing. McLaurin, they're playing Washington. They're playing the Raiders. The Raiders had that good pass rush with their edge rushers, potentially takes the downfield passing game away. It's a road game for them. McLaurin always has the upside of the group. McLaurin has the upside because he has enough of these 100-yard games with a scorer that we say, yep, he's our upside guy. But Diggs has got to be your floor guy. And Mike Williams right now, first 5 weeks, the coaching staff was using him, throwing downfield, taking advantage of his strengths. And then all of a sudden, they went back to the slot receiver and the running back. That's their offense. And so Mike Williams is kind of screwed there. Mooney should be fine. Dalton will get him the ball. I think the pressure rate of Arizona won't be as good in cold weather, rainy, and a pretty long road trip here. I think Mooney he's treated like an alpha. He's getting targets. So to me, it's Diggs and Mooney are your floor guys. But if you need a ceiling play for one of them, you could definitely go McLaurin over Mooney. McLaurin is more likely a non-PPR to get you 15 points. Whereas Mooney, I think he doesn't quite have that because Arizona's defense is exceptional. So again, Diggs for sure. Mooney for floor, McLaurin over Mooney for ceiling. All right. I got another Insta question here. All right. So the Sanders-Goddard question from Knack Hill. How do I think Miles Sanders and Dallas Goddard will do today? It's a question for everybody that can't see that on YouTube and Twitter. So Miles Sanders is in an excellent matchup. Understand, if you looked at the box scores and you saw last week, he had 9 for 64 or something like this, and Boston Scott went off. Sanders rolled his ankle in that game and missed the rest of the game. 2 weeks ago, when they both were healthy, 16 carries for Sanders, 6 for Boston Scott. To me, that's the breakdown of work. Jordan Howard's out again. Sanders is playing one of the worst run defenses in the league. They're bottom 3. Sanders, and behind that offensive line, should have a phenomenal game. Now, it doesn't help if Jalen Hurts is not expected to play. We'll know for sure when the inactives come out in a few minutes. And as you guys see inactives, make sure you let me know those, okay? But so that's the problem we're facing right now. So, but Sanders should still be fine because the defense is so bad. Hurts helps that running game. And then Dallas Goddard, it's all a matter of if they need to throw. It's a low volume passing game as it is. My guess is that Gardner Minshew is more of a gunslinger. So he's looking more to Devonte Smith, Jalen Reagor, Quez Watkins. I don't know how much he's going to focus on Dallas Goddard in this game. So I think Goddard has a fair floor because the Jets matchup is phenomenal. The Jets are the worst against tight ends, number 32. So Goddard should get you 4 for 40. I just don't think he gets enough targets to go crazy with a great matchup. All right. And then Pitts versus Goddard. So, yeah, I had a similar question earlier, and I'll come back to YouTube and Twitter in a moment. So, Pitts and Goddard's a tough one because Pitts hasn't been doing much. Tampa can take him out. Tampa's not great against tight ends, but they're going to treat him like a wide receiver. That's what everybody's been doing. And Matt Ryan's been horrible. However, there's a great chance that the Bucs play with a big lead, and if they take their defensive foot off the gas, Pitts can clean up late. So, I'm going to say Goddard's your floor play. And you'll be fine with the bankable points, like I said earlier. But if you want an upside play, but you're going to risk a low floor, that would be Pitts, because if there's garbage time, he could clean up there. All right, Johnny Football, Carson Wentz or Derek Carr. So most likely it's a Jonathan Taylor run game. Most likely they hammer him on the ground. Houston's bad against the run. They're number 25. So I think it's all about that. And Carson Wentz is going to get a couple touchdowns probably. They'll do some play action. They'll throw some. He'll have success. But if they get totally into the run and Houston isn't stopping it, and I know Quentin Nelson, the center, is out, so that's not good. But Ryan Kelly, the center, is out. So that's not good. But it's still an overwhelming matchup in the run game. Derek Carr's in a great spot here. Washington's good against the run, very good against the run, actually, but they're horrible against the pass. And the wide receiver matchups are exceptional. I like Derek Carr here. And I know Derek Carr has implosion games. I get that. The Washington pass rush is still rated high, but that's on a whole season base. They've lost to injury, two of their better edge rushers. So I'm going to say Derek Carr here because I think that the matchup they have is too much of an advantage. Back to Insta C-Way, Mike Williams or Miles Sanders. I got to go with Miles Sanders. Like I said, his ankle's healthy. He's going to get work. Last week, he rolled the ankle, which is why he didn't have enough touches. Mike Williams just doesn't get used enough, and it's frustrating. I mentioned this a couple times in the show that earlier in the season, they were throwing downfield, letting their big arm quarterback do big arm quarterback things. And then all of a sudden, well, you know what? Let's lean on Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler, and let's miss the playoffs. Well, okay, that's what they want to do. But Mike Williams gave them a vertical element that they needed, but they haven't been using it. The one touchdown he did get was late in the game. That was a shootout, and they had to throw. So I'm going to say Miles Sanders by a good bit here, unfortunately. Hurts is not playing. Thank you. Yeah, so everybody out there, Mac Hill just told us Jalen Hurts is not playing. All right. Jason, full PPR flex. Pittman, Ayuk, Gaskins. Ayuk for me. First of all, Seattle's bad against receivers, but Ayuk last year when the 49ers were missing either Debo or Kittle, he was feasting. It was like 90 yards. It was 75 or more yards, I believe, in like 6 or 7 games. See, you can't even double the 49ers receivers. They get them the ball before the corners can engage. They scheme the play so that the ball is in space when it's received. Ayuk has been playing a full snap share. To me, it's Ayuk all down. Pittman has a matchup against Houston's number 5 against wide receiver ones. Myles Gaskin is just risky. And, you know, the Giants are bad against the run. I get that. But it's one of those games that's going to be a slugfest, I think. It's going to be a slogfest and a slugfest. So, I mean, Ayuk has a good floor and a good ceiling, and I don't think there's any reason to go away from him here. Randy, let's see. Non-PPR, Taylor Swift. She's a good singer. Well, not really, but I had to say that. Javonte, Damian Harris, and Dylan at running back. You can add one more. Jamar Jefferson, Dearness Johnson, Khalil Herbert, Boston Scott, Ronald Jones, or Hilliard. With Hilliard, it's interesting because I do think that's Jeremy McNichols' job. He got a concussion, and I think they love Jeremy McNichols, and Jeremy McNichols is a better player than Hilliard. He's going to step back into that role that he lost to injury. So of the players there, you're looking at injury insurance. Dearness Johnson needs 2 injuries. Jamar Jefferson is already at the disadvantage that Swift is out now, and he'll probably be back in a week or 2. So down the stretch, you're not going to be helped there. Khalil Herbert would need a Montgomery injury. So, so it's Herbert, Scott, or Jones. Whichever running back you think is more likely to go down, like Fournette, probably not, right? Montgomery could. Montgomery has some fair number of injuries. So maybe Herbert. If Montgomery gets hurt, you already know what he could do. Insta question. Van Jefferson or T. Higgins? T. Higgins doesn't have a good matchup. LA's number 5 against wide receiver 2s. But he's going to get volume. And he's an outstanding receiver. He's a great player. So Higgins has your floor. I don't see a world where Higgins doesn't get you, 8 to 10 points. I think he can bank that. He's been playing so well. He had some drops earlier in the season. Van Jefferson's your boom bust guy. 4 or 5 targets, maybe one's downfield, maybe he breaks a long touchdown. So I think you want to bank those safe points, and a good amount of points is T. Higgins. And Higgins could score too. There's no question he can. You really want to go for that potential boom game, but there's a lot of floor. It's Van Jefferson. I got to say T. Higgins there. And then Boston Scott or Devin Singletary. Yeah, and I got you. New England's very good against the run. Devin Singletary is not the guy who's going to take advantage of that, I don't think. I think Matt Breida is going to see even more work this week. Boston Scott, make sure he's active. Active should have come out around now. If Boston Scott's active, they're playing the Jets. The Jets are horrible. So if Scott's cleared, it was an illness. It wasn't an injury. So I would say Boston Scott. And then one more Insta question, guys, before I come back to YouTube and Twitter. Devonte Parker or Tyler Lockett? Tyler Lockett. Devonte Parker, the problem is I think he's going to see a lot of James Bradbury here, and Bradbury should cover him tightly, and Tua doesn't like to make those tight window throws. And to me, that shies me away. Tyler Lockett's, as bad as the Seahawks have been, he's produced in 3 of the last 4 games. I think it's at least 90 yards in 3 of those games. San Francisco's not a scary matchup, and teams focus on taking DK out. So I think, that gives Lockett a little room to roll here. I think Parker doesn't have that high of a ceiling, because of the matchup. So I'm going to go Tyler Lockett there for that reason. Tiptoe Tooth 92. Can I trust Edwards-Helaire? Yes. Andy Reid said he's going to play. Adam Schefter said he's going to play. So apparently it looks like he's good to go. 2 best sources, right? The head coach and Adam Schefter. Adam Schefter's a better source than the head coach because head coach may have a agenda. So yeah, I think you got to trust Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think you have to. Desean Jack, yes, I hope so. His snap share went up from, off the top of my head, 17 to 32 to 48. That was beautiful. And then we saw last week 3 for 100 and change and a touchdown. Drew a DPI. Nobody can cover him. It's amazing. Dude's in his mid 30s, can't cover him. He is so fast. And against Washington can't cover downfield players. He could eat today. Yeah, I've been talking that up all week for sure. All right, see what other comments we got here. C. Griffin, morning. OBJ or Christian Kirk? You know what? I love OBJ this week because the hip's apparently fine. He expects to play. He said it himself. Coach expects him to play. They're playing Jacksonville pass funnel defense. I'm sorry. They shut down the run. They're easy to pass on. I think that McVay gets the passing game right this week. Christian Kirk's always a good play, but the Bears, he's in the slot. I don't think there's going to be a ton there. I think Kirk has a good floor. But I think OBJ has a better floor. He had a 24% target share last week, So, and then he has the upside, and especially against Jacksonville. So I think we're going to go to OBJ there. I think it's like 70 to 30%. That's higher than I like to go on percentages, but I think I'm that confident with that one. Let's see. Delroy, PPR, Stevenson, Boston Scott, or Damian Williams. Damian Williams is probably going to be inactive. I haven't been activating him on game days. So in Khalil Herbert, the number 2, isn't getting any work at all either. It's basically the David Montgomery show. So now we're down to Stevenson and Scott. Stevenson's safer. He'll get you 9 to 12 carries. He'll see a target or 2. I do believe the physical nature of the New England rushing attack, despite how Buffalo's ranked number 4 against the run, they've had an easy schedule. So Stevenson should get you 55, 60 yards. Chance for a catch or 2. Definitely a chance for a goal line score if they get down there. Boston Scott, 2 weeks ago when Miles Sanders was healthy, Sanders had 16 carries. Boston Scott had 6. Last week, Sanders rolled his ankle. And so that was what we're looking at there. So I got to say Stevenson because I think Miles Sanders kind of – now Boston Scott's an easy matchup. If he gets 7 carries, he could do something. But Stevenson's a beast. Stevenson's a beast. I really think he can take advantage of Buffalo defense. C-Way, Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, who will have a better day? Carr is a great matchup. I mean, he's Derek Carr, and that's the problem we have. The Derek Carr just disappeared for us for no reason. I think the Washington pass rush has slowed down enough with the injuries they sustained, the edge rushers, that help him. And he's at home. He plays much better at home. Justin Herbert could be in a shootout here. I really hate to bench such talented quarterback, especially in a game against Cincinnati, that in my mind, that game is going to score some points. And the over and unders within 1.5 on those 2 games. So you'd see them both as higher scoring games. I think here's your point. So I think in my mind, Derek Carr can have a better day, but Derek Carr can have the floor game. So if you're in a fantasy league, which I know you are, the floor of Herbert is way better than Derek Carr's. The ceiling is right near his. Not as high today, but close. So I think for that, I'm starting Herbert because I don't think Carr's upside is so vast that I risk that floor game where he implodes because he just tends to do that at time. Kabroom, you're very welcome. And yeah, I do. I write for Rotowire on the Sirius XM show on the Rotowire show every Saturday. I don't know if you have Sirius XM. We're on 1 to 3 Eastern, but I love Rotowire. I've been with these guys since 16. Been in the industry now. My gosh, it's 07. There's been a while been in the industry, but yeah, I love Rotowire. They're family. Totally love those guys. Glad to be part of that team. All right. Delroy, another one. Matt Breida, he's a start. I mean, his snap share's been 32% 2 straight weeks, but he gets carries on those. He's been over 50 yards in total yards 3 weeks in a row. They're only going to involve him more. And I know people will say, well, New England's tough against the run. They are, but you got to play with your sub packages against the passing game and the lighter box. And Matt Breida, they finally figured out that, well, he's fast, and that's all they ever needed. Zach Moss and Singletary weren't fast, and they couldn't unlock their offense. And they haven't yet. The passing game's not unlocked, but they're being given yardage on the ground, and they're finally able to take it with Breida. And so, yeah, to me, Breida is a play. The rest of the way he's a play because he'll never see a heavy box, and he's fast, and that's all they need. Delroy, Cole Beasley or Dawson Knox. So Cole Beasley's getting phased out a little bit. First of all, defense are taking away a lot of that middle of the field stuff on Josh Allen, and he's struggling. And Beasley's numbers have gone down with it. Now, also, Gabriel Davis is starting to take some snaps because the Bills are finally realizing they have no physical presence at receiver. Gabriel Davis gives them that. So by taking him out putting him in for Beasley for some snaps, they have more of a physical element and they could do some different things. He can block. Beasley can't block. He's 180 pounds. I don't know, maybe he's not, but he looks like it. And Dawson Knox is interesting because we know what he can do. His targets will go from 3 to 10, but he's big in the red zone. But Bill Belichick knows it. When they're in the red zone, Bill Belichick, and Patriots are number one against tight ends. Bill Belichick is dedicating somebody who's really good to taking Dawson Knox at the goal line. That's my guess. So for me, both are sits. Low scoring game. I don't think there's a lot of points scored here. I don't think so at all. It's a very low scoring game. Stephon Diggs will get his, and Matt Breida will get his. And I don't know if there's much more. Do you play Kyler or Jimmy G? Yeah, it's a tough one, right? So the 49ers theoretically could run the ball all day. And if they do and they have a lead, they don't have to throw. They're not adverse to giving Jimmy G 18 to 20 tosses and calling it a day. They have no problem with that. Now, Kyler hasn't been running the ball at all since week 2. And coming off an ankle, he's not going to run, right? They're playing in Chicago. Weather's not going to be great. It'll be rainy. It'll be cold. Windy, like 17-mile-an-hour winds. But he's Kyler Murray. And he's got DeAndre Hopkins likely back inactive. Should be in. If you guys know those, let me know. Oh, here, I got a few of them listed. Hopkins is active. That's huge. Thanks, Johnny Football. Brandon Cooks, full go, healthy. Boston Scott's active. This is very helpful. Very helpful. So, Kyler Murray has a higher floor because Jimmy G may only throw the ball a few times. But I don't think Kyler has a ceiling this week. I don't see a ceiling. Not in Chicago. Jimmy G could potentially throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. I'm not predicting that, okay? But he could because he's got Kittle, he's got Ayuk, and they got the play action game. So if you want to save 15 fantasy points, I think Kyler Murray's your guy. But Jimmy G could get you an 8 or a 25, depending how they shake the game out. And if that game somehow shoots out, so I think that's your choice. Kyler's safe. If you got to swing for defense and risk a low score, then Jimmy G. All right, Drew D. I wonder if that's Drew Davenport. If it is, that's awesome. If it's not, it's awesome too. Deontay Johnson, James Conner. Oh, man, you put me in this spot. All right, so Antonio Gibson's a must-play. Antonio Gibson, my God, they're giving him the ball a ton, and that shin looks fine now. And his matchup is great this week. Love his matchup. So Antonio Gibson, and with J.D. McKissic, I don't care about Wendell Smallwood. Seriously, I just don't see it. I see Gibson had 7 targets last week. He was already out targeting McKissic, and that was before McKissic got knocked out of the game. So Gibson, slam dunk, rest of the way, running back 2, running back 1 upside. Now, the next one is this. Deontay Johnson's your floor guy. He gets literally, look at the box, like 13 targets a game. There's a couple games he hasn't. He gets the ball because Ben can't throw. Get it out, get it to Deontay. So Deontay has a beautiful floor, so you trust that. If you need a ceiling play, if you need, Connor can score 2 touchdowns here. If you guys check the inactives, and again, because I'm doing this, I can't see those. If Roquan Smith is inactive, James Conner becomes an elite play. And if he's inactive, I would put him above Deontay Johnson. I would say that, and that because of the upside. But Deontay Johnson is as safe as they come. So it's Gibson, Johnson's your floor play, Conner's your ceiling play. But if Roquan Smith is out, I'm going to go to 2 running backs. That's what I'm going to look at there. Got another Insta question here. Darrell Williams, Chiefs produced today. Williams, he really saw his workload go down. I want to actually look it up for you here. I got a second here. Give me a second. So his workload went down. At CEH, in his last 3 full games, it's been like 6.5 yards a carry, 6.5, and he like 5.5 last week. That run blocking has gotten so good, and he offers them so much in the running game, and Williams doesn't. Williams had 5 for 15 and 1 for 11 last week, while Edwards-Helaire handled 14 touches. And so basically, Williams is just an emergency floor play, get you a few points, hope he finds the end zone, not likely. But check your waiver wire, see if there's other players in late games available that you might be able to pivot to. Honestly, this would be crazy, but Mike Boone is going to take over from Melvin Gordon. Now, I think Devonte gets 75% of the work, not the 50-50 usually. Well, he's been up to like 55 lately. But I think Mike Boone could get carries in this game, and I think he could have more value than Darrell Williams. Now, that's going out there because I can't prove they're going to use Mike Boone, but they did target him in the offseason before they drafted Devonte. All right. Guy, your last question. You have Herbert. Do I still start Higgins? Oh, you know what? I honestly never factor in correlation in a regular fantasy. If I'm doing DFS, then it's different. DFS, yeah, I want to correlate. But I think in the same game, you're kind of correlated anyway, because if Herbert has a big game, that means they're scoring a lot of points, and that means the Bengals are going to have to score a lot of points, and then that means T. Higgins is involved. So either way, they're similar. They're similar plays. Higgins is just a better football player, and they use him better. I think that's the key. They use him better. They use him on, whereas Mike Williams is getting neglected downfield. We see too many weeks where he's not getting the ball. Higgins gets the ball. So to me, that doesn't make a difference with Herbert being in there. Excuse me. Which running back do you like more, James Robinson or James Conner? I like James Conner more. James Robinson is dinged up. He's able to play today. Apparently feels a little better, but he's not 100%. Now, I do like his advantage as a receiver because the Rams do give up receiving yardage to running backs. But if Robinson's not 100%, James Conner is. And Conner gets that goal line work, man. He scores almost every week. And I don't know how he doesn't. Because he's there. I mean, then red zone, he's 230-something pounds. And, with the offense they have, good luck stopping him. So to me, it's got to be Conner because Robinson's lack of health concerns me. And again, Johnny, thank you. Boston Scott's active. OBJ or James Robinson, I'm going to go the same way, C. Griffin. I love OBJ this week. He's supposedly healthy enough to play, which means he'll be on the field. Jacksonville's what we call a pass funnel. They stuff the run. You could pass all day on them. I think Sean McVay wants to get his offense passing game unlocked here. OBJ had a 24.6% target share last week. To me, it's OBJ. One play is all he needs, and he can get. We saw last week on a sluggo route. Safety made a little bit of move toward Cooper Kupp. The second he was flat-footed, Matthew Stafford immediately identified him, fires the ball over the top, and OBJ's walking in the end zone. Man, that was sick. We'll see more of that today. Thank you, Johnny. Hopkins is active, and Brandon Cook's full go. All right, Deluxe is up next. DK, Mooney, OBJ, Montgomery, Hunter, Renfro, start 2. Yeah, it's a tough one. Montgomery has a bad matchup here, so I'm going to rule him probably out on that one because Arizona is very good against the run. They're very, very solid. I don't know if they have much room to roll here at all. I mean, they're probably 15th against run, but they're nasty. And the Bears' run blocking isn't very good. And I think that's where it comes into. The Bears' run blocking does not make me too excited. So that worries me. Hunter Renfro is a floor play. I mean, he should have a high floor here. He's probably going to catch 7 passes today. So I think that's a big deal. The yardage last week, I don't think that's, repeatable. Like I said a minute ago, I love OBJ this week. Mooney's the go-to guy, and they're going to get him the ball. And Arizona's corners don't scare me enough to make me say I got to shy away from him. I think they get him the ball. DK Metcalf, the coaches were saying this week they want to get him the ball. Now it's a risk because DK Metcalf's been awful the last 3 weeks. What he's done in 3 weeks, we're hardly startable for 1 week. And so I guess how we're looking at it is this way. We got to start 2. I think we got to put OBJ in there. 24% target share, and his role in the offense is growing and expanding. We got to go with that. And then as your second one, I think your floor play, my God, for a floor play, I got to be Hunter Renfro, right? He's going to catch 7 balls today. He's going to get 65 yards, 70 yards. They use him in the red zone. He's got to be those guys. And then for upside, Mooney and Metcalf. But if you trust the coach narrative that they're going to get Metcalf the ball this week, he can take the 49er secondary. He can do that. I don't know if I trust Russ right now. So you got to go with your gut on Metcalf. Otherwise, I'm going to say the upside play over Hunter Renfro, who's the floor play. The upside play would be Darnell Mooney because I think Mooney is emerging into a star. That's how I'll call it. It's a great question. I got an instant question. Ricardo, Montgomery, Jamal Williams, and Devonte pick 2. Jamal Williams should do damage as a receiver. Eric Kendricks is out, the linebacker for the Vikings, and he is their best defender against the inside passing game. And so I think that Williams and Devonte to me is kind of a lock because he probably sees 75% snap share this week with Melly Gordon out, and the matchup is great. I love David Montgomery, but I don't think this is a great matchup. I think this, I think that they'll come in. Arizona's a good run defense. I think they're going to come in and try to stop the run. I think they're going to dare Andy Dalton to beat them. Against better judgment, I love David Montgomery in a snap share, but I'm going to go with, because I think Jamal Williams and Devonte Williams see a similar snap share. So I'm going to sit Montgomery out of those 3. All right, Johnny, let me tell you my props are for today. Let's see here. I got a list of them here. Got an email I sent myself with them. So let's take a look here. Mooney, under on the yardage for Mooney. I have him under on the yardage. Cole Kmet under on his yardage. Those are the only two I have for that game. I think it's a lower scoring game. Reed, you have a tough one on Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett, or Brandon Cooks for your flex. Brandon Cooks is facing an Indy defense that's pretty bottom of the barrel against number one receivers. They're like bottom 6. And I do think there's a great chance that the Colts have a big lead in the middle of the third quarter and on. I think that the Colts take their foot off the gas defensively and maybe even pull some starters. And I think Cooks can get production against their starters, but I think there could be a great chance for a lot of garbage time here. Look, Mike Williams is a great player in my opinion, but they have after week 4 or 5, they stopped throwing downfield and they don't use them. So they kind of screwed him over there. So that's from Tyler Lockett's had yardage in 3 of the last 4 games. So we love that. Not finding the end zone. The big plays have been there. Seattle is not a bad matchup at all. They're number 27 against wide receiver 2s. So it is a great matchup for Lockett. So I guess I'll ultimately say this. Lockett does have floor because if the pass rush gets home, Russ has been terrible lately. He's found Lockett. So I think if you need the upside, if you need a guy who's going to get you, 18 to 20, but you're also going to risk a 4 to 5. I think Lockett's that guy. He has that range. Brandon Cooks is more likely to hit you 10 to 12 points. He can score too. And so he could have a similar upside, even more to Lockett, but Cooks is the safer play. Lockett is a more volatile one. And depending on what your matchup is looking like, I think you base it on that. All right, see what we got here. Randy, prop bets. So the teams, I didn't put this in my email, so let me just go to I liked the team total under on the Chiefs. I liked the team total over on the Buccaneers. Let's see what the other one was. And the Rams. I like those. Now, sometimes the Buccaneers, there's more value in taking the first half over. I did that against the Giants because they'll take their foot off the gas on occasion in the second half. So, honestly, I think maybe with the Bucs, the first half over is not a bad one there. Parlaying those up is not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea as well. I like once they post Clyde Edwards-Helaire's rushing yardage, it's going to be a conservative number anyway. Love the over on that. Antonio Gibson over on the rushing yards. It was a real low number. It was something that he's going to blow away easily. Brandon Ayuk over on the receiving yardage. Eli Mitchell over on the rushing yardage. Let's see what else we got here. Over on Miles Sanders rushing yards. Love all of those. All right, let's see what else we got here. Reed, Mike Williams go up to Cincinnati, solid secondary. Tyler Lockett, 49ers defense struggling. Russell Wilson, Cincinnati and 49ers running out the clock. Mike Williams' problem, like I said, I've been saying a little earlier, I don't know how long you've been with me, maybe he just came in, is that Joe Lombardi stopped using him downfield other than that shootout game against Pittsburgh. We got the ball late. They're not using him in his best capacity, which is downfield. He's blown up the first 5 weeks because they used him right. Now they stopped using him right. And so that's very problematic. Mike Williams is a floor, though. Mike Williams is going to get you 4 for 50. Probably gets you that without a problem. Can he score a touchdown? Yes. Tyler Lockett's been very boom bust, but he's had 3 of the last 4 games. He had good yardage. It's worked out. Now, San Francisco is not good against wide receiver 2s, so it is a good matchup. Now, Russ does not look good. And so what I'll say is this. Your floor play is Williams. You want that safe 10 points. PPR, you got that. But if you're willing to risk a 4 for a 20, then I think Tyler Lockett is your guy. I think that's the way we go here. All right, let's see here. And then Randy, if I had a roster spot to play around with a non-PPR, Kenny Nwodu or Mike Boone, because Melvin Gordon is probably coming back quickly. Cook might too. I think it's more likely that Gordon is back next week and Cook misses more time. So Nwodu, that'd be the guy. That's the guy I would do. Boone's a great player. Love Mike Boone. But I don't think he's going to get meaningful work. Even if he does well, as soon as Melly Gordon's back, he's back, back in trouble there. I got an Insta question, so you're not going to see this on Twitter and YouTube. Josh, I see you're here. I got to go. I'll get your questions in a second. Willie Wallace, Tevin Coleman versus Singletary. Yeah, that's rugged. Tevin Coleman stinks. I know he had some yards last week. Philly's going to be tough to run on. I know they're middle of the road, but the run blocking for the Jets has been bottom 3. And so I think they get overwhelmed there. Singletary's going to get some work. He always gets some work. So they're both low floor guys. If you can get Rex Burkhead on waivers, pick up Rex Burkhead and drop Coleman and start him, because I think David Johnson's out. If I don't know if anybody saw it or not, that's the key. But if David Johnson's out, then start Burkhead and drop Coleman and go that route. Otherwise, Singletary. All right, Roquan Smith is active. Okay, that lowers the upside ceiling. Connor could have had a massive, massive game here. That lowers it. Now, it's possible his hamstring isn't 100% and he's slower because his speed is his asset. But regardless, he's on the field. He's able to play. We assume he can do it. You're welcome, Willie Wallace. All right, Josh, let's see what we got here. What happens in the Chargers game if the Chargers get a lead but try to run out the clock? Are the Chargers designed to run out the clock? Let's grind Austin Eckler. And I don't know. I don't think they do that so much. And then Larry Roundtree, not so much. Justin Jackson. So I don't think the Chargers have the discipline to do that. And run blocking, they're number 9 in run blocking, so they got something going there. I don't think they're going to be able to – I don't think they could consistently move the ball on the ground. I think their way to control the clock would be the short passing game. I think they've espoused that. I think they're happy to dump to Eckler, dump to Keenan Allen, and I think that is their ball control, but it gets more yardage. And I think that's an analytics-based approach too. There's more efficient to pass than to run. So I do think that may be the case. The team that's going to try to run the ball, though, is going to be the Cincinnati side, because the number 32 defense of the Chargers against Joe Mixon, that's the mismatch. I think Cincinnati wants to come in and shorten the game. I think that's their intent, to keep Justin Herbert on the side. I almost see the flip side of that. But again, I agree with your point. But I think if the Chargers are going to run, it's going to be through the short passing game. It may and that may be what your point is. That may be your point. That totally may be your point. But that tends not to run out the clock as effectively as a run game. Guy, you're welcome, man. Crucial week. Good luck. Jeff, per sources, Atlanta team over. Oh, Josh is the king of your sports betting here. If you're not following Josh and you can't find him, tag me and I'll get you to him. I retweet all this stuff so you can find it. But Atlanta team over. If Josh is telling you go that route, there's a great probability that it hits. He is way better at this gambling aspect than I am. I'm the fantasy guy. Josh is your gambling guru. All right. Getting close to my lunch. Randy, you're welcome. Yeah, it is getting close to lunch. It is. Yep. Eat some nachos today. I like that. That's my go-to. Hurts is out. You're welcome, J-Red. So Burkhead, a TD. I do. I think he gets 10 PPR points today, because make sure David Johnson's out, okay? David Johnson's out, yes. So, look, Indy is very good against the run. They're number 3 against the run. However, they're number 29 against receiving backs, and Rex Burkhead is a very good receiver. And the odds are they're going to trail. Burkhead probably gets you 4 or 5 catches here. I don't think he gets much done on the ground. He has a chance to score if they get in the red zone, but I think he can get you 4 or 5, and he's good after the catch. So, yeah, I think Rex Burkhead is a sneaky fantasy play. There's downside. He's Rex Burkhead, but I think they're going to use him. And they liked him so far, and they should like him. He's a very good football player. So, yeah, I think he can get you 10. Not a lot more than 10, but he can get you 10. All right, Burkhead or Boston Scott? Robert, all right, man. I like Burkhead here. Boston Scott, 2 weeks ago when Miles Sanders was healthy, the carries were 16-6 in favor of Sanders. Now, people saw the box score last week and Boston Scott blew up. Sanders rolled that ankle and missed the rest of the game. Sanders is the guy, I think. And I think without Jalen Hurts, it changes the element of their running game. I think Sanders is talented enough to still be well, but I think Boston Scott loses something here without Jalen Hurts, stressing the linebackers, because that's what he does. He promotes a numbers advantage and he stresses the linebackers. So that's what I say. Scott, thank you very much that David Johnson's out. That was very helpful. Robert, you're welcome and good luck to you. Scott, would I go with Stafford over Herbert? So I hate to be subjective. I always like to be objective. You know that. I have to think Sean McVay wants to get his passing game on track. He's got a brutal schedule down the stretch. If he doesn't get his passing game some confidence today, and they haven't been clicking, he knows that. And they're playing a pass funnel defense. The Jags stuff the run, but they can't stop the pass. So I really believe he has to attack that way, and it's what their team needs right now. So I think Stafford is a phenomenal play. Now, Justin Herbert has great ceiling any week because he is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. I think there's a better chance. Now, that game could shoot out, but it also could be Joe Mixon on the ground shortening it. There's a possibility there as well. And the fact that Herbert doesn't throw downfield a lot, but he still gets to 330-yard games. I think Stafford has a very good floor and a very good ceiling this week, where I think Herbert has a good ceiling, but I don't think he has the floor Stafford has. And that's why I tend to lead. This is like 55 to 45%, and that's where a lot of them fall. But I would lean Stafford based on that. Josh, translation over 50. Okay, over 50. There you go. All right, Scott. Yep, Josh is. He hasn't had a losing week in like 2 seasons. I don't see he had one recently. Yeah, if you guys are sports gamblers out there, guys and gals. Josh last year didn't have a losing week. I don't think he's had one this year. If he has, it hasn't been by much. All right, Scott, Van Jefferson, Mike Evans, Thielen, Jamar Chase, Jamal in the bench 1 in a PPR. I think you got to bench Van Jefferson because the other guys all have floors. Mike Evans is a great matchup this week. Thielen's been raking. 28 straight weeks for Josh's gambling wins. My God, the dude's insane. I love him. Jamar Chase. I think Jamar Chase is a big week. This really sets up well for him. Jamal Williams. Eric Kendricks is out for the Vikings, which bodes well for him. Williams is a receiver. And I think you got to bench Van Jefferson. Look, Van Jefferson could get you a long touchdown and be like, his floor is so low compared to the other guys. And I think that's why you got to bench him. All right, 11 o'clock. I don't see any more questions. I have one more on Insta. I got Matt House. Last question for today. Jamal Williams or Tyler Lockett? Jamal Williams, you just heard me talk about him. Some perfect timing. He has the high floor this week. And his ceiling's decent, but he's got a high floor. Tyler Lockett's had like 90 yards in 3 out of the last 4 games, and that's been great. But I do think that Russell Wilson's look horrible. And if the coaches this week said their intent was to get DK Metcalf the ball and feature him, if they do, it's at Lockett's expense. So here's your deal. Jamal Williams is a very, very, very high floor play who should be in the lineup. But if you've got to risk a potential 4 for a potential 18 or 20, then I think you go Lockett. But Williams has got it's Williams because I think that injury to Eric Kendrick is massive. Scott, you're very welcome. Appreciate you. I hope you get some big wins today. All right, absolutely. Insta, I'm out on it, so thank you. I'm going to close this out here. And let's see what else we got here. If I can learn how to shut off, then I'd be in good shape. There you go. And now on Insta. All right, do that. All right, now get back to that last question. Nick Ted. All right, let's see. You got Josh Jacobs, Montgomery, or Sony Michel, non-PPR. Josh Jacobs is not 100% here. Washington is very, very good against the run, but horrible against the pass. And Josh Jacobs has not been getting a lot done as a receiver. David Montgomery gets that 85% or so snap share. And so I think his floor is the highest. Sony Michel worries me only because Jacksonville is great against the run. Last 5-6 weeks, they've been lights out, and they get killed in the pass. And I think the Rams attack them there. So I'm going to say David Montgomery is your safe play. He's got a similar ceiling to both of them. And I think you go with the volume. He's at home. I think the sloppy weather helps him a little bit here. I'll take one more question. Evan, would I drop AB for Michael Carter or Julio? I drop him for Michael Carter. Michael Carter was coming on. I think they'll bring him back when he's healthy. They'll wait, and they'll be fine. But he's shown they're going to use him pretty well. So, I think that's the way we got to go here. You got Julio. I don't know if he can play anymore. I really don't. I think the injuries have caught up to him. And I think that he's not the guy. He's not going to be that guy. He had one good week in week 2, I think. But, I would drop AB for Michael Carter. Because Michael Carter, AB you're not going to have for a few weeks. And then he's been off so long. Does he come right back in and be full strength? Maybe not. So Michael Carter would be a good ad. All right, I got a couple more questions. I see Mitch is in the house, so I definitely got to stay with Mitch in the house. All right, Scott, one more. Minshew. So ultimately, the Eagles want to run the ball. Their identity since week 7, run. Their offensive line is great. Now, Hurts is part of that running game. He manipulates the numbers, and they get a great advantage. But I don't think they go away from their identity. They're playing the Jets. Jets are bottom of the barrel against the run, bottom 3. So they come in, they dominate, they run, and that'd be fine. Now, Minshew's going to throw some. And I think that Minshew's a little more the gunslinger, and I don't know how much they're going to contain him on that. He has Devonte Smith. We haven't, Quez Watkins has done a lot, but I think Minshew's better for him than Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Reagor, he plays, but he doesn't do much. But Minshew has a floor, a real low floor, because they run. They don't need him. But there's a world where Minshew gets 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Probability-wise, might happen in 4 out of 10 games. I think more likely you're looking at 190 yards and a touchdown. I think that's what you're looking at. But there are some scenarios, like 40% scenarios where he hits 2 touchdowns at 240. I think so. Because basically the Jets can't cover either. So the Jets, you can have your way with them. Jets are number 31 against the pass. So it's a great matchup. But I think they want to run the ball and protect. I think their defense and running. I think that's how they want to win the game. All right, next. Man, hey, thank you. Appreciate that. Play one. DK, Pittman, or Renfro. So we love Pittman. He's playing a Houston defense that's amazingly number 5 against wide receiver ones. They do a real nice job of bracketing and taking out. And I think Jonathan Taylor's able to run so well today, they don't really need to go to him. I think the T.Y. Hilton day a little more. So Pittman concerns me because of the matchup. DK is interesting because the coaching staff said this week, we have to get him the ball. Well, if that's the case, they get him targets, he'll do something. But he hasn't done anything in 3 weeks with Russell. Renfro has a super high floor. If Renfro doesn't get 7 catches for 60 yards, I'll be surprised because Washington is very bad against the pass. And if their passers gets going at all, he's the guy. And with no Darren Waller, and I get it, Hunter Renfro's playing fine, but the middle of the field is Renfro's if it's not Darren Waller's. So Renfro has a great floor. So Renfro would be my pick there. But if you want upside, if you're willing to risk a 4 for a 20, then it's DK. You got to decide what you need in your matchup. If you're favored or close, it's got to be Renfro. But if you're a big dog, well, in that case, I think you take the flyer on DK. Mitch, good to see you, man. All right, Tua or Russell Wilson? Oh, man, you had to hit me with that one, huh? So, I expect the Giants-Miami to be a slop fest. I think James Bradbury's going to be on Parker, but that would open up Javonte Williams. Javonte Williams, my God, I'm getting old. Jalen Waddle. They'd open Jalen Waddle up. So, ultimately, though, I think this is a low-scoring game. It's in Miami, which helps. The Giants are terrible. Giants are 7th against the pass, and that's been good. So, ultimately, Russell Wilson's been horrible. Now, you can pass against the 49ers. You can't run on them, so they're going to have to throw. If the coaching staff was right that they want to get DK involved, then I think Russell can get something done because DK could do so much after the catch. If they get him even on simple slants. So here's the end of the game, Mitch. Tua's your floor play. He's going to run for something. He's going to get a touchdown pass. He's going to get you 200-something yards. He's your floor play. Russell Wilson can completely implode. We've seen it. But I think of the ceiling, I think Wilson has the ceiling where he can get 2 touchdowns at 250, and he may even run. He hasn't run much. He ran last week a couple times. Maybe he's going to run a little bit more. So Tua's your safe floor play. I think you got to trust that. But if you need some pop and you're willing to risk downside, then you might look at Wilson. But Wilson hasn't done – he had a garbage time touchdown, fortunately, last week. I bailed him out. But that was about it. Hope that helps. Julia, glad you're here. Blessed Sunday to you as well. Yep, Max, thank you. Good luck to you as well. I think that's it. Looks like we're done. All right, time for me to eat some lunch. Everybody have a wonderful day. Good luck in all your games. Talk to everybody soon.